The North Star is God's throne room. This also proves flat biblical Earth. First off, we know Polaris has never moved. The Georgia Guidestones prove that also. And if for some reason you're still not sold on that, Starfinders. This is a double-sided planisphere. Both the north and the southern hemispheres work off of Polaris being the center point. And this gets even wilder when you start working in verses from scripture. As always, ran it through my favorite Bible app, Haven. If you love theorizing and making connections, this is your app. You can put any theory into it and it'll tell you whether or not it's biblically sound. So in Revelation, the throne room is described as looking like jasper and sardine stone, and there was a rainbow round about the throne in sight like unto an emerald. This is Polaris through a telescope. Look at the colors and also look at what this looks like. That is an eye if I've ever seen one. I asked Haven to use the Book of Enoch as well for references, and it says, I saw the dwelling place of the pole star, which is set over the earth. And right before this, he described seeing the throne of God. A standard starfinder or planisphere makes it undeniable that Polaris is the center point of this flat earth. But the smoking gun, go look up antique compasses. You'll have a hard time finding one that doesn't have a green or a blue crystal in the center. Look at Polaris again. You have the green, the purple, just like in the Bible. And then check the color of the northern lights right around where Polaris sits. Some of you guys probably remember when I took this off of the planisphere and drew both sides, and this is how I realized that it was an eye. Well, these are also indicators of the slope of the dome, which is why if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're not going to be able to see Polaris as well. If that still isn't getting your gears turning, this is the inside of a circus tent. Think of it like that. And then think back to the Old Testament, all of the talk about the tent. The eye, or the throne room, sits at the top of the tent. Makes something like this, or this make a lot more sense. And would you look at this one? And then when you consider that it matches the description of God's throne room, it makes all the more sense that that's where God watches us from. This is a throne angel. They have eyeballs on them because throne is linguistically related to eye. The world we live in is pure magic and absolutely beautiful because of God. The occult takes divine concepts such as God's eye and twists them. Let me know if you guys have anything to add or if you made any additional connections.
Good afternoon, aloha from Florida. So I'm standing near the Halifax River in South Daytona, Florida. I can see condos far over there and probably Wilbur by the Sea. Not quite Ponce Inlet. It's too hazy today to see Ponce Inlet. But this water is perfectly flat, level, horizontal, all the way up. And I can see condos up there, Daytona Beach. Probably not Ormond Beach because it's a little too hazy. But from that view of those condos, across this perfectly flat, level, horizontal water, down to those condos, best guess is at least 10 to 12 miles. Now here's the point of this video. Told to me by a flat earther who I met a couple years ago who has a STEM-based master's degree. STEM, if you don't know it, stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. And this person works with the ECEF Cartesian Grid Coordinate System, which he says can only work on a flat and stationary plane, and it works perfectly. Now, the plums that are used to construct these condos hang perfectly vertical on those condos way up there in Ormond, and these condos way down here in Wilbur by the Sea. At no distance, at no scale, does one plum at a condo far away from the plum at another condo ever start leaning or angling towards the other plum. They hang perfectly vertical over a flat and stationary plane. Levels and plums prove the earth is flat and stationary. The plums also totally destroy the idea of the Foucault pendulum, as they never start swaying with the alleged rotation and revolving of the earth. The earth is flat, there is no curvature. Water proves it, construction proves it. The earth is stationary, there is no motion, and the plumb bobs prove it. Have a great day. God bless. Go check out Eric Dubé, 200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball. Check out flatearthdave.com and his app called Flat Earth Sun Moon Zodiac Clock app. Check out Vika Drazo, a friend of mine who did Flatten the Curve documentary with commercial and military pilots proving the Earth is flat and stationary, and the documentary that I am in called The Mechanical Realm about the Anti-DITRH mechanism and the perfect repeating cycles of all the heavenly luminaries around our magnetic center over our flat and stationary surface. Have a great day. God bless.
Do y'all want to see what the Earth really looks like at 120,000 foot? I've compressed this 10-minute video of this amateur balloon going up to 120,000 foot. I took it from 10 and made it 1 minute, so it's nice and short for y'all. It may surprise some of y'all. You know, I've seen probably about 100 different pieces of amateur footage of this same exact scenario, and it always ends up the same exact way. Right now they're about at 80,000 foot. Google what happens at 80,000 foot and let me know in the comments. Or at least, when I first went down this rabbit hole 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, at 80,000 foot, something is supposed to happen significant when you're in the atmosphere to the surrounding area. It might have been changed already though. So what do y'all think? Did it look different than you thought it would? You know what you want to say, whether you accept it or not. This video right here is actually hilarious because the sun is, what, 94 million miles away? And the sun is inside the clouds? I guess that means the clouds are 94 million miles away. The ones that are behind the sun, you know? Somebody's lying. People actually believe this stuff. Oh my god.
Can someone please explain this? Please? Like, I'm so confused. You know, sometimes I just don't want to make videos anymore. I'm so disturbed and I'm so upset with the state of the world and the state of the lies and deception and confusion and just nothing being real and AI and just underestimating the global consciousness and our intelligence and just, I don't know, treating us all like absolute idiots, like thinking that we're so dumb that this right here would be passed off by the masses as real and no one would question it. Like, I'm not saying anything, guys. You already know what's going on. You've seen enough videos, you've seen enough AI to know what the fuck this is. And it just literally destroys my core, destroys my heart, destroys my soul. Like, what the fuck universe, what the fuck multiverse are we in? And how the fuck do we get out of this shithole?
I just wanted to say that I'm still up here on the ISS, and this is my hairdo, because the only reason my hair could be like this is if I'm floating in outer space. Obviously, look, her hair is floating like this too. We have the same hair. So obviously, I'm in outer space. Because obviously, she's in outer space. Because they wouldn't lie to us about being in outer space. I mean, there's proof. Look at her hair.
How did President Nixon call the moon on a landline in 1969? Let's break down exactly how NASA says it worked. NASA's official explanation. NASA says Nixon's call to the Apollo 11 astronauts was a standard telephone call, but it was relayed through an advanced communication system. Here's how it supposedly worked. Nixon used a regular landline at the White House. The call was routed through NASA's Mission Control in Houston. Houston then transmitted Nixon's voice to the Goldstone Deep Space Communications Complex in California, which had an 85-foot radio antenna. The signal was beamed 239,000 miles to the moon, where the lunar module's VHF radio picked it up. Armstrong and Aldrin responded, and their voices were sent back to Earth the same way. Sounds simple, right? But here's why it shouldn't have worked. The problems with the moon phone call. 1. the missing signal delay. The moon is 239,000 miles away, and radio signals take 1.3 seconds one way, meaning Nixon's call should have had at least a 2.6-second delay in responses. Yet, in the broadcast, Armstrong and Aldrin respond instantly, faster than even 1960s transatlantic calls. Even if Mission Control relayed the call instantly, you'd still hear the delay in the astronauts' responses, but there's barely any. 2. The weak lunar transmitter. The lunar module's radio had only 12 watts of power, about the strength of a household Wi-Fi router. Transmitting a clear, two-way conversation across 239,000 miles with such low power? Highly unlikely. NASA's Deep Space Network needed massive radio dishes just to pick up Apollo signals, yet Nixon's voice came through crystal clear. 3. Earth's 1969 communication limitations. Long-distance calls in 1969 were unreliable. They had static, dropouts, and delays even across the U.S. Transatlantic calls required undersea cables or early satellites, which still had long pauses and interference. But somehow, Nixon's call to space, and even greater distance, worked perfectly with no issues. Before, radio interference and ionosphere distortion signals from the moon had to pass through Earth's ionosphere, which causes distortion and signal loss. But Nixon's call had no static or interference. Solar radiation and cosmic noise should have affected the transmission, yet the audio is flawless. Number 5. A perfect two-way conversation. The Apollo system supposedly allowed full duplex communication, meaning both parties could talk at the same time, like a modern cell phone. But even military radios in 1969 often used push-to-talk half-duplex, meaning only one person could speak at a time. Somehow, Nixon's call functioned like a perfect two-way conversation, despite the extreme distance and limitations of 1960s tech. So, could Nixon really have called the moon?